let's talk defensive line.
All right. I mean, first of all, I want to get your opinion on one player because I've seen it and it's been an interesting story because the one-on-ones and the actual scrimmage has told a different story to me. Drake Jackson, what are you thinking about him?
Drake Jackson is the most interesting man on the defensive line. He is the Dos Equis of the 49ers defensive line. Okay, so when they took him, I was so confused. It's like, you don't have a first-round pick. You have legitimate needs on your roster, and you take another player at your deepest position. Now, I get that you can't have enough edge rushers, but wow, I didn't get it. And then I saw him in person. I was even more confused because he doesn't look like an edge rusher. He looks like a tweener.
Yeah.
He straight up looks like a tweener. And then talking to Chris Kasarik today, it like all clicked. I was like, so, well, first of all, you've seen him take reps at D tackle. You've seen
Correct.
Him.
I have.
So I asked Chris Kasarik, like, what about his skill set makes you feel like he'll excel there? And he's like, well, he reminds us a lot of Arden Key. Straight up. He's like, yeah, he's got the bend, but he's like in the interior, he's got the wiggle. So to me, it's like, oh, Arden Key was a very important part of this defense. When that defense clicked, he was a very important part. They lost him. Clearly, they want to replace him. And what he said was, that freshman year of Drake Jackson at USC, when he got most of his sacks, mostly came from the interior. So I'm guessing that while they're teaching him how to play defensive end right now, that's what they did with Key last year. His role when the season comes around will be the interior third down rusher. I'm guessing. What do you see from Drake Jackson?
Now, that's interesting. A very interesting observation. Originally, I had heard before training camp had started that the 49ers wanted to implement Jackson as a true edge rusher because of that bend, right? Because in the interior, the one difference I feel in the interior as opposed to out, the quickness definitely is helpful against guards, but you also need a little more of a pass rush acumen, meaning a couple of pass rush moves to get past a guy. Whereas across the edge, you don't have a guy next to you. You can just beat him with speed through the edge. And I've seen both. The one obviously interesting thing with Drake Jackson, if you pair him alongside Nick Bosa, that's really, I don't see a way that defenses can stop it if it's one-on-one. Because Drake Jackson has that ability. And in one-on-ones, the reason that it's interesting is because he hasn't necessarily won. Justin Skule had a good rep against him. Colton McKivitz had a good rep against him. He hasn't won, which shows to me that he's still raw with his pass rush acumen. But overall, I think his traits are just too undeniable that you still can justify keeping him on the field because he's going to make an impact. On Tuesday was his best practice. 4 pressures, 2 sacks against Alfredo Gutierrez. I want to see him get more reps against the ones. And I mean, it is against backups, right? But he got reps against the ones yesterday, was on the edge, and beat Mike McGlinchey for a pressure. And this Mike McGlinchey has looked good so far too.
Yeah, I think what's intriguing about Drake Jackson isn't that he's necessarily Arden Key, who was a straight up flop on the edge and resurrected his career on the interior. I think with Drake Jackson, he probably is going to be able to do both, or ideally. I think that's what the projection is. But as a rookie, I think there's a role for him in that Arden Key role that I think he could take pretty quickly. Because if it's not him, who is it?
Yeah, I mean, the only 2 guys right now that can really fulfill that role, in my opinion at least, are Charles Omenihu and him. Those are the only 2 guys.
The guy asked about Omenihu earlier, right? So what do you see from him?
Yeah, so Omenihu has been interesting. So obviously the 49ers have had some fair share of injuries, right? Yesterday was the little bit of the most telling day because Nick Bosa was out. Who's going to start there? It was Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu took the first team snaps at the end position. The only other guy really that I saw taking a bunch of the first team snaps, like a significant portion, was Kerry Hyder, which is interesting. And Omenihu's name hasn't necessarily flashed a lot, but you can understand why they want him to do it. His length is something different to me. Like that's something that's unique to him. And I can see him taking that Arden Key role as well, just because he is a little more refined in pass rush technique, where Jackson can win against Jackson. Obviously, his traits help him against the edge rush. So that's the one thing about Omenihu versus Drake Jackson. I can see Omenihu taking a role, and also he's year 2 in the system. Jackson's year 1 in the system. Omenihu says he's been more comfortable, and obviously the reports, I think he is in a way primed for a season where at least he'll be given the opportunity to break out because he'll be given reps early.
Yeah, I feel like what Omenihu is sort of like maybe the projection for Drake Jackson, kind of similar, maybe a guy who can do both, not necessarily only one or the other. So Bosa looks great. Armstead's hurt. Kinlaw's back. Hasn't played that much. Hasn't been in one-on-ones yet. What have you seen from him as a pass rusher in 11-on-11?
Good. I think it's been fine, and by good I mean potential.
Okay.
Yesterday was Kinlaw. Like Kinlaw necessarily didn't have his best performance yesterday, but yesterday was the most promising day because of the amount of snaps he played. Kinlaw played a
Yes.
majority of the ones. He played a majority of the
Yes, he
snaps with
did.
the ones.
He
On the
did.
other day that he played in the defensive drills, what was that? Was that I forget which day. I think it was no Saturday. The day he
Yes.
just
Yeah.
came back because he got the day off on
Right.
Monday. On Saturday when he came back and when he was playing, he didn't play a majority with the ones, but you could see the pressure. He
Yeah.
like literally moved away Jake Brendel on one of the first snaps of the day, and then Aaron Banks was in a position and he pushed him back
Nice.
and got like pretty much a sack or
Nice.
something like that on one of the plays. So he's
Nice.
looked promising. It's just can he remain durable and can he continue to kind of get these number one reps and stay with the first team defense on the field?
It's funny. Unprompted. Chris Kasarik, D'Amico Ryans, the last 2 days talked about Javon Kinlaw. Both said, with him, it's all about technique,
Yeah,
pad level technique, all that arm hand placement. Like basically, to me, what they're saying is he has the ability to be just like Eric Armstead, to do
correct.
all the things Eric Armstead does, but that requires great level of technique because for Armstead, even he's 6'7", and he gets his pads low and he forklifts people and generates tremendous knockback. Javon, like sometimes he does that. Sometimes, and like you see it a lot, that pick six, great play.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you are on the other side of the line of scrimmage. You should be knocking guards back. You that kind of guy. And a lot of times you'll see him get stonewalled because his pads go up and then he's like trying to knock passes down. So I think they're trying to get him in the backfield more. So we'll see.
And the one other thing, real quick, about Javon Kinlaw, you talk about the one-on-one reps. That's where I'm really like, because he hasn't had one-on-one reps. COVID year was there. Then last year they took him out of the one-on-one reps because he was like still with the injury concerns and that kind of thing. They didn't really let him play in one-on-one reps as much. He hasn't been too much of a pass rusher yet. That's the one thing I want to see. And he has the potential to do it, but the best way to really showcase that talent is in one-on-one reps. So I want to see Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Will he be in there? Will McGlinchey be in there? And those guys be in there because they haven't been yet.
That's the big catch-22 with Kinlaw. Like he has the talent, he just needs the technique. Well,
Correct.
how do you work on the technique? Practice.
Yeah.
So he needs to be in practice all the time. If he could be in every day of training camp, I would bet on him to have a very successful season. We don't know how the next month's going to play out, but he needs practice.
Right. And it's not like I don't think you're blaming Kinlaw either. It's the Niners, right? The Niners are the ones really that are the ones like controlling the schedule. It's just you want to see him more there and get the most reps possible because you see what kind of a person he is, the talent and everything there.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that the Niners are mismanaging him because it's a catch-22.
It's a big injury.
You got to manage the knee, so you don't want to have him have a setback. So it's like, what's the right balance between workload and practice?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. We'll see if they can figure it out. Let's go to a couple questions. What odds that Jimmy's on the SF roster week 1? What do you think, Rohan?
So I know we've actually, I called in and we talked about this a little bit ago.
Yes.
I'm personally, okay, I can't say 0 because I've been proven wrong before. I'll say 15. I still think that Jimmy Garoppolo will not be on this roster be it via trade, be it via release. But I still, I think you got to preface that with Garoppolo is going to end up going where he wants to go. And what do I mean by that? His contract is not going to be valid regardless of what it is. He's going to make less money than whatever he's making right now with the 24, 27 million. So right now, in my eyes, Garoppolo is a free agent. What do I mean by that? He's free to negotiate deals with other teams. And once he agrees to a negotiated deal, it's a sign and trade. You give back an asset, we take, we'll trade for Garoppolo in that kind of way. And so that's why
is this negotiated deal going to be multi-year, or is it just going to be like, hey man, like we're going to trade for you, cut you, and give you $7 million? Like
that is very interesting because I know Jimmy is definitely going to want 2 years, right? Because that gives you more guaranteed money. Yeah. No team is going to want to trade for an injured quarterback and give him an extension because that thwarts their final. Like the whole point of a bridge quarterback is so that you can get away from 1 year. And I know I broke the story with Marco about Jimmy Garoppolo to the New York Giants. The one thing about it is Tyrod Taylor is their bridge quarterback. If you look at Tyrod Taylor's contract, it's a 2-year deal, but you move off of it after 1 year. That's the point of a bridge quarterback. So maybe it's structured in that way where you can move off very easily after 1 year. But I think that it's likely still would be a 1 year deal for the team's benefit.
It seems to me like the Niners are kind of just waiting to see the whole Deshaun Watson situation through, because there is a possibility that the league extends the suspension. He's out the whole year, and the Browns call him up. But
Right.
it seems like still kind of a low possibility. And barring
It's low.
that, what do they do other than cut him?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, regardless, I still think like the one thing about the Niners holding on to Garoppolo, I don't think it hurts the Niners. I think it hurts Garoppolo more because that every day that he doesn't spend in another team's training camp learning another team's playbook is another day that goes to waste for him. He needs to get in there, get reps with the ones, get reps with his offensive line, find out the tendencies, and learn the playbook all before week 1 if he really wants to be a starting quarterback. Because if not, then it doesn't even matter. His like playing time is going to be dependent on another quarterback failing, because otherwise, if the quarterback's doing good, you're not going to just trade for Garoppolo and just put him in because you paid him money. If a guy's doing good, you're playing the guy who's doing good.
Jim, thanks for becoming a member. DM me. I'll give you a 10% off promo code for my merchandise. Miguel says, are the Niners wasting their time with Gutierrez? What do you think?
I mean, no, because he's just a practice squad guy. He's like that exception to me. Like I forget exactly the terminology, but since he's with the Pathways program, there's an extra spot on the practice squad. Exactly. So guys, just like imagine that he's not on the roster really. So to me, it's not a waste. But yeah.
Also, he won 2 reps in one-on-ones. He beat Robert Kimbiche twice.
He did. He struggles in the scrimmage, but he did win the reps on one-on-ones. He's just not really that refined in pass protection.
Greg says you're the man, Rohan. What's your channel name?
When this comment goes away, it's literally just my name. You can just search it up on YouTube and you'll see it. Rohan Chakravarthi right there. You just figure it out and subscribe. Thank you.
Ricardo says, what's up, Grant? Out of like 3-4 off seasons I've watched your coverage, this has been your most enthusiastic field of team. And you don't have them in the playoffs. Why is that? Because I haven't watched Jimmy Garoppolo throw one pass. I was tired of it. I had seen enough. Sorry. It's like watching the same TV show. Like, I don't want to watch season 9. The last 6 were exactly the same. I'm done. So it's a new show. It's a lot of fun. That's basically how I feel.
I saw you tweet, go home. I saw you tweet,
go home. Like, why are you hanging out with the kids? It's not your team anymore. It's like you got Trey Lance getting his brains beaten in by the best defense in the league, and Jimmy Garoppolo here like posing for pictures like, don't you wish I was still out there? Don't you wish? Come on, man. Go away. It's not his fault, though, right? The Niners are creating the situation. Yeah. Have they been working on Trey's slide? No. I've never seen.
They don't even allow him to tackle. They don't allow to tackle him. Like, if somebody tried to tackle him, it'd likely be Robert Nicomdice, and he'd be cut the next day. So they definitely cannot do that.
Doesn't Jimmy G need to know the playbook, YOLO? Yeah, I think he knows it. He should know it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about a trade, you definitely do need to know the playbook of the team that you're going to.